That's going to do it, folks. That's going to do it. Ryan and Sacktown here for Grant Napear on If You Don't Like That. Guys, 119, 117. The Sacramento Kings lose in glorious fashion to the Phoenix Suns. A game Sacramento dominated in the first half. Jerry Reynolds was here at halftime talking about how good the Kings looked offensively, defensively. I joked with Jerry. So the Kings game plan is working too well because Grayson Allen is beating you in the first half. 30-6 run by the Phoenix Suns. Kevin Durant, 15 in overtime. Again, I want to repeat. Sacramento Kings 119, 117 losers tonight to the Phoenix Suns. We're going to open it up to you. So I just put the link right now into the chat. I want to get your guys' reaction. I'm reading it right now. There's a lot to unpack here with this Kings road trip that comes to an end. The question I was planning to ask you tonight. Suns show last-ditch effort in defense. Cranked up big time. Kings forgot how to play basketball in respond in the last 5 minutes. 100%. Okay? Yeah, they didn't. Okay. They didn't do anything in the last 5 minutes. Correct. Stop. Okay, now we're getting ridiculous. We're getting a little ridiculous. Let's chill. Pump the brakes. We're going to talk about that here in a second. And we're going to get all of you in here again. If you would like to get in on the show, we're going to be taking your calls. I want your Kings grades for the last road trip. 5 games. I posed that question 25, 30, 40 minutes ago. With the Kings up 15, 16? And now we're doing this. But it's been the tale of the Kings season. What can I say? What can I say? We're going to get to all of your written chats. You are just as important. Thank you. I'm Ryan in Sacktown, in for Grant Napear. Kings losers tonight. 119, 117. Before, actually, we get to the callers, I do want to give you this tidbit. Mention this at halftime. And want to see where you guys come out on this. And I want your honest, I don't want the garbage takes of trade everybody like iPod there. I don't want garbage takes like that. I want your legitimate takes about this. Kings owner, Vivek Ranadive, and general manager, this is from Jason Anderson of the Sacramento Bee. This was sent out 2 hours ago. Kings owner Vivek Ranadive and general manager Monty McNair are sitting together along the baseline near the Kings bench. Assistant GM Wes Wilcox is here too. He was on the phone a lot when I saw him before the game. So where do you come out? Is this news? Are they just taking in a game? Maybe played 18 holes before hitting the game tonight in Phoenix? Taking a little vacation? Or is there something to this? I mean, you just let a Phoenix Suns team that did nothing. Their bench had 2 points. 2 points in the first half. 2 points. Anyways, what's it to you? Is this news? Per Jason Anderson of the Sacramento Bee, should the Kings be looking at somebody on Phoenix? Are the Kings looking at somebody on Phoenix? Or was this the best thing this ownership group in this front office needed to see right in front of their face? A 30 Let me repeat, 30-6 run before the Kings were ultimately put out of their misery at 119-117. As I said, we are opening up the show to you. Stan, welcome to If You Don't Like That.
Ryan, what's going on? How you doing, brother?
Doing great. What can we do for you?
Good, man. Calling you from Orange County. Been a Kings fan since '89.
Have you from OC, bud?
Yeah, for sure. Irvine. Listen, you know what? This is who this team is. Okay. I've been watching this team go to many games up there, down here.
Mm-hmm.
The team just, they came out strong. They came out with a lot of fight, but realistically, they're just not a real good defensive team. They wilt under pressure. I mean, we can talk about trading everyone, but when it's all said and done, these are the players that we have. You know, and I know you're
Well,
upset. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, Stan, these are the players that you have, but you have to remember, Stan, this team made a conscious choice to run it back this year.
Yeah.
Okay. They brought the core of this team back. They basically said, we're going to double down and say our core is better than anything this Western Conference can do in the offseason, including a lot of the teams making themselves better. And I know the Kings made a few fringe moves, which have been kind of the MO of Monty McNair, but there's still time for the Kings to make a move in this season. But the defense, it's got to be one or the other, Stan. Is this going to be an offensive team or is this going to be a defensive team? We know what this team can do offensively, Stan. This team was the top team in the NBA per offensive rating in the history of the NBA last year, right?
Right.
Defensively, terrible, right? So we know what they
Right.
can do offensively. Defensively, they can't do much. So is this team going to go in that direction? And are they going to double down on defense? I don't know. It's really hard to tell. Mike Brown and the front office need to make a decision one way or the other. But I
Exactly.
do think this does bring, and Stan, thank you for joining us here on If You Don't Like That. I do think, and thank you for joining us from the OC, buddy. I do think this may bring it to a head. This very well could bring it to a head. Yeah, Stan was in a blanket, but we appreciate Stan checking in from the OC. So again, tough night for the Kings. Kind of what Stan said about defense. How much does that play here, guys? I mean, Jerry and I talked about it at the end of the first half, right? Kevin Durant, he really didn't do anything in the first half by Kevin Durant standards. He was 1 of 4 from the field, 5 of 5 from the free throw line. Durant, again, 15 points in the fourth quarter, ends with 27. I talked about the Phoenix bench a little bit ago. Again, they had 2 points at halftime. Phoenix's bench, Metu finishes with 6, 3 from Eubanks, Josh Okogie, 2 points. And then Eric Gordon, 13 points in the second half. 13 points in the second half. So which direction is this team going? Are we overreacting? And again, what are your grades for this last 5-game road trip now that the Kings are going to be coming home? We return to the phones. C-Dog, 209. Welcome to If You Don't Like That. How's that loss feeling, man?
Well, no hands up today.
No.
Grade for the road trip, a D. Straight up D. Because I'll give them a good grade for the Hornets game, but the Pistons game...
Why?
The Hornets game, I'll give a good grade because we took care of business in that one. The Pistons game, yeah, scoreboard says we won by 20, but that game was close for too long, and that's the worst team in the league, so I'm not giving a good grade on that. Sixers game, we didn't show up. Bucks game, execution at late lost us the game, and Phoenix game, execution late lost us the game. So I'm going to give a D grade.
I don't think a D is out of line, to be honest with you, C-Dog. And we appreciate the call, dude. Appreciate it. Hopefully next game there'll be a little bit more of this from you. But C-Dog gives them a D. I don't think a D is completely out of line. A lot of the chat is agreeing with you, actually. D, let's see. It's tough. G for garbage. We've got some garbage comments. D road trip, D minus road trip. So just to refresh your memory here, this road trip, if you're just tuning in, Kings lose tonight 119, 117 in a massive collapse. The Kings, the Phoenix Suns only lead until late in the fourth quarter was in the opening minutes of this game. So that should tell you everything you need. But getting back to the road trip, guys, let's recap this. So you've got the Clippers, the Lakers. Oh, excuse me. My computer did not update right there. So getting back to C-Dog, he said the road trip is a D. So again, going over the games, you got Detroit, Charlotte, Philly, Milwaukee, Phoenix. Tremaine, welcome to If You Don't Like That. Happy to have you. What's your grade on the road trip?
I give them a C-. Yeah, I think. Hi, how's it going, Ryan? By the way,
good. How you doing?
Yeah.
Welcome to have you, Tremaine.
Doing well. Thank you. A fellow Aztec for life,
Hell
right
yeah, I love it.
Let's go.
SDSU.
SDSU. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
right.
So a couple questions for you. Like, why?
Yeah.
It felt like the last 4 minutes of the game, he kept the same team on that was not doing so hot. They were not doing well at all. He didn't want to sub anyone. And I was just wondering why. I've never seen Harrison Barnes. I've never seen him in a that positive of a light. He seems like a professional guy. Grant Napear says, he said several times how much of a professional he is off the court, how much he does for the team off the court. Obviously, I don't personally see all that stuff, but on the court, I mean, damn, he gave away that sloppy foul. He's not really doing a whole lot. He hasn't been doing a whole lot in a while. How come he's still in there? And I feel like he's lacking that kind of cutthroat edge to him. He's just kind of there. He shows up and.
Yeah, but that didn't happen overnight, right? And the question becomes, is it a Harrison problem or a system problem, right? Because Harrison was productive last year. I mean, he kind of feels like and I don't want to call Harrison Barnes old because he is not old whatsoever, but he feels like the dad running with the kids, right? Like he's that good OG on the floor that you can rely on once in a while. But it's been a problem all season. And Harrison had one of his better games tonight. I mean, he had 8 points in the first half. It's a classic debate. Harrison isn't the problem with the team. There's a bigger problem with this team. And the question becomes, what does this team do? And Grant is checking in the chat. So I know you guys are patiently awaiting his rant on this.
Oh boy, I bet Grant is livid. I mean, he's probably going to be more. I mean,
yeah,
for good reason. I mean,
I can imagine, but it's going to be a lot of people. And again, we seem to, or as Kings fans, and thank you, Tremaine. I appreciate you being here and checking in on the show. Thanks for being on the show. And everybody, please, if you would like to be a part of the show, go ahead and hop in here. I will put the link right here for you guys to go on if you would like. But I really like the stat by Guerrero. The Kings were 226-1 before tonight when leading by 22 plus. I think it about sums it up for you. Kings lose tonight. I could go through the stats. I think really, though, this probably starts a bigger conversation. I don't know how it doesn't about what is next for this team, because by all accounts, if you watch this game from the first through the third quarters, this team responded well in the third quarter. You thought this Kings team put their foot on the neck of the Phoenix Suns, but no, they let them hang around. And whenever you have Kevin Durant, Grant always says it. They have Durant. They have Booker. He doesn't really say it about Beal, but I agree with those two, right? They have those guys. The Kings, we say we have Fox. Fair. We have Sabonis, 2 All-Stars, but those guys are superstars, and they were the difference tonight. We get to James in SAC. James, what's up, man? Welcome to If You Don't Like That.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ryan. The way I look at this road trip, it's a D.
D.
You obviously got 2 out of the 5 games as wins, so that has to count for something, regardless of how bad Charlotte and Detroit are. But the reality is that the Kings lost the other 3 games in 3 very different ways. They weren't competitive against Philadelphia.
Good point.
They lost in a tight battle all the way down with one of the best teams in the East with the Bucks. And then this game, they couldn't close it out when they were up 20 points with 5 minutes left to go. So you lost in 3 very different ways to teams that at least 2 out of the 3 you looked like you were going to win. And so for that reason, it's a D. Clear cut as day.
I appreciate it, James. That is a pretty good take there, D. And he brings up a great point. The Kings kind of ran the gamut with this road trip. They really did. If you look at the way they lost the various games on this road trip, I mean, again, James, very good point, because I was encouraged by the Kings. I was encouraged by the points in the paint. Maybe I was wrong. I wasn't buying into, hey, they did it against worse competition. I wasn't buying into that. But they did. Napes is right. And Napes is in the chat, by the way, if you want to get his takes on things as well. Andrew, what's up, man? Welcome back to If You Don't Like That. What's your grade on the road trip, buddy?
Well, I'm going to give him just barely passing. I'm going to give him a C-.
First passing grade.
It's not a complete failure, but it's nothing you're proud of. Yeah, I mean, if last night sucked, this sucks even more. I touched on it a little bit over the weekend, but it's just that losing culture we have. It takes years to build that up, and
So Andrew, you're saying last year was an anomaly?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying, we're going to make the playoffs again for the second time in 20 years. We're just getting our feet on the ground in terms of learning how to win. And losses like last night, tonight, it's just what losing teams do. Winning teams don't do that kind of stuff. And bottom line is we're immature. We lose focus. We can't keep focus for 4 quarters. And I put that on the coaching staff. I just do. So yeah, thanks for having me on right now.
No, I appreciate it, Andrew. You bring up a great point. You bring up you kind of bring some level to this conversation, because it is true. This team is young. As much as we talk about Fox being an all-star, we talk about Sabonis being an all-star. Their time together is still relatively young. It's not even 3 full seasons. So, yeah, this team does need to develop that culture. And that does take time. So a good point by Andrew. I think, again, you don't ring the bell too loud. I want to get to, or I don't think you panic too much. The one thing, Andrew, I do want to get to, and David, I see you there. I'm going to get to you in 1 second, David. So just hang on really quick. I want to go over these numbers really quick. Ash, I saw you in line to call. You can get back on. I'll get to you. But yeah, thank you. Ash is working on a song for the show. We are excited about that. Yeah, team falling apart a little bit and being soft. Yes. I wouldn't say they're old, though. So let's leave that. So, okay, really quick. I do want to get to this really quick. And David, again, I will get to you in just 1 second, because I think it's fair that we look at this. So check this out. Here's the final stats tonight for the game. And you talk about a winning culture, having a winning identity, Andrew. But when I look at this Kings team, what's wrong with this line? They shot 50.5% from the field. They shot 46.2% from beyond the arc. Free throws, bad percentage. Saw that bite them last game. 12 isn't enough, though. 12 is not enough. Rebounds, got their tails kicked. Look at that. But look at the assists, guys. Grant always talks about assists to turnovers with the Kings. 34 assists tonight, 14 turnovers, the majority of them the majority in the second half. So I guess my question becomes, At what point does this Kings team, this is who they are? That was good numbers for the most part. And Phoenix was not good enough to beat this team. So anyways, who is this team? David, we get to you on if you don't like that. Thanks for being here tonight. How you doing tonight, Dave?
Doing good. Ryan, can you hear me?
Got you loud and clear, buddy.
Hey, just wanted to say I'd give the road trip a D-, just like everybody else. I'm from the Carolinas, and I was actually at the Charlotte game, so I was glad to go to that one and not any of the other games on the road trip. And tonight was a complete meltdown, and back-to-back heartbreakers. It's really bad. I appreciate you letting me come out here and vent. But
yeah, of course.
When a team last year, basketball is a game of runs, and last year, teams would storm back on us like that. And when they would come back from us being up 19-4, that's when the clutch player of the year, Fox, would come in and hit a shot, then a 2-point mid-range jumper, and make it tough for the other team. And this season, I've seen him dribble the ball up the court a lot and hand it off and get in their offense and rhythm. And, give it to Malik. And Malik's great. He's great. But, we have a reigning clutch player of the year in our team. I'd like to see him come down more with the ball, especially when a team's coming back.
Yeah, but David, here's the problem. How can you ask the reigning clutch player, the inaugural clutch player of the NBA, to be clutch when this team rarely plays in clutch time? This was one of the few games.
That's right.
That is within 5-6 points.
That's right. That's a good point, Ryan.
The Kings either win by a lot or they get blown out by a lot. The numbers don't lie. It's 20-point difference. The last time I checked the numbers with wins and losses, it was a 20-point difference between wins and losses, points scored. So that's going to be a problem. Hey, Nathan, really quick, I'm going to leave you up really quick, David. Nathan, let me throw this up because Jerry Reynolds said the same thing. It's funny that you said that. He's suggesting that they bring back Terrence Davis. But David, we appreciate you being here on If You Don't Like That. So I
love the show, man. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. Thank you so much, Dash. We're gonna get to you in just 1 second, so hang on there really quick. May have been a bad night for the Kings, but let me tell you, it is never a bad night when you go to Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland. That's their newest location in the Blue Oaks Town Center. They've got 2 other locations, one in Roseville and one off of Howe in Fair Oaks. But Bennett has everything that you want when it comes to dining. If you want to find steak, they've got it. Great seafood. Oh, and weekends, by the way, if you're a brunch person, $44, get you a bottle of champagne, your juice for mimosas, and also 2 entrees. Can't beat that, especially with the patios at Bennett's. But Grant and I wouldn't lie to you. Go check it out yourself. Tell them that Grant and Ryan sent you, and we appreciate all of you that have been in and checked out Bennett's. They have given us back the feedback that you guys have been in. We really, really appreciate that. So go to bennettsrestaurants.com for more information. Proud sponsors of the show. We love Brian. We love them. All right, let's get back to Dash. Dash, welcome to If You Don't Like That, man. Happy to have you.
How's it going, man?
Good.
So, we've been discussing last few games where other teams make runs, whether we have the lead or whether we go in a hole and nobody can stop the bleeding and why that is. So I was looking at some stats on NBA.com, and this interesting one that came across to me was in the fourth quarter in the last 8 games, which we've been 4-4, and we know we've lost some games we should have won, where teams went on a run. In the last 8 games, when we're winning in the fourth quarter, we're taking 13 shots a game in the paint, within 10 feet, rather. When we're losing, which is second in the league, when we're losing, we're taking only 9 shots a game, which is bottom 10. And this comes back to my point that I've been trying to make is when other teams are going on a run, I see our team, I don't know if they're panicking or what, but they just go down there and they're just lobbing up threes. We need to get in the paint. I get it. We're a 3-point shooting team, but you got to play the situation sometimes. And that's coaching as well. So that stat says a lot to me.
Yeah,
Um,
Dash, that's a great stat. I've talked about it, and that's what's hard about for this road trip. That's what's so hard for me to grade this team out over this 5-game stretch, because even up until the first half of this game, they were doing some of the things that you were talking about that they do in winning time. They get points in the paint. They were having Harrison Barnes get in the mid-range. I think Keegan Murray on this road trip, the progression that we've seen that young man take just in some of the moves and the decisions he's making has changed the Kings to a degree with what they do offensively, because he gives them a threat from the mid-range, a legitimate threat. So that's an ingredient that's clearly missing from this team. Now the question becomes, is that ingredient on this team? Can that be Keegan turned up to 100, or do the Kings look somewhere else to get it?
Yeah, and the other thing, somebody just mentioned it, but I do agree. Ever since Mike Brown and Malik Monk had that episode where they had a little confrontation, I feel like we're making it a point for Malik to do a lot of the playmaking going down the stretch, which I agree with that caller that De'Aaron Fox used to do a lot of that last year. And if D Fox is being doubled, that's good. We can find the open shooter. We got enough playmakers, on the team. So I noticed that as well. Another unfortunate loss, man. It's becoming a little bit of a habit, and habits are hard to break. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Dash. Thank you
care,
so
man.
much for being a part of the show. You've called in a few times, so thank you, Dash. He always makes it better. Yeah, you bring up some good points, Dash. Look, the bottom line is it a Monk problem? No. Is it a Fox problem? No. It's a little bit of everybody. There is not. And look, if there's anything getting lost in all this, it's the play of Domantas Sabonis. Another triple-double tonight, guys. A monster triple-double. 12 rebounds, 11 assists, 21 points. What's that? 3 triple-doubles this road trip, I want to say. The Kings threw up some crazy stat earlier tonight. I don't have my phone in front of me, so I'm not going to read it back. But it was one of those stats where somebody was reaching, but he was the only player in NBA history with certain stats within a triple-double. Anyways, it was a triple-double plus 90% from the field. That's what it was. So I think everybody has some blame here, including Sabonis, things he can do better. But at the end of the day, the Kings, something needs to change across the board. This team's all about this all-in stuff, right? This team's not all in right now. I'm not in the locker room with this team. I'm not. Grant's not in the locker room with this team. By the way, Grant will be back next game with us here on If You Don't Like That, so we're looking forward to that. But I'm not in the locker room. Look, I don't know what it is, but something's off. You guys are smart basketball fans. Something's off. And I think that's what's bugging us. The Kings know there's an itch. We just don't know where to scratch. And as a fan base, it itches, but how do we fix it? It's not there yet. But the Kings go down 119-117 tonight to the Phoenix Suns. Thank you all for your calls and your grades. It's tough for me to grade this road trip out. It's a conversation I'm going to have. I need him too, right? We all need our Grant. It's a conversation I want to have with Grant and Jerry. Don't forget, Grant and Jerry coming up tomorrow, as well as Sean Salisbury tomorrow as well, to talk about NFL playoffs. Lots to talk about there, but Grant, Jerry, and I will have a good conversation about this tomorrow, and maybe we'll all grade it out together. We will grade it out together, but again, I want to start the show the same way. And again, guys, I think we're overreacting. Let's take a minute. I think we're overreacting. Okay, Paul, if you want to argue, and I don't disagree with you, Paul, but if you can't make the argument that they need to shoot better from the free throw line when they're only taking 12 free throws tonight? That's not enough. That's not come playoff basketball time. So if you want to make that argument, it also needs to include they need to take more free throws, in my opinion. Dave, what's up, man? Appreciate you being here. Dave is one of the loyals, D-. So look, tune in tomorrow, Grant and Jerry. We will be here 4:00 Pacific. Most likely, I'll check with the boss. Don't quote me to that. 4:00 Pacific is usually when it happens on Wednesdays. But Grant and Jerry to talk about what this team does going forward, and talk about this loss, because there is going to be levels to this. And at this point, although the team's 23-17, one thing is for sure. This team tonight, who now, I believe, drops to 8th in the West, is not the same team as last year. Doesn't mean this team's any worse. Doesn't mean the players have changed. It's just not the same team. For whatever reason, whether that's coaching, whether that's the players, it's different. But guess what, guys? A lot of basketball still left in the season. A lot of basketball. Kings, a lot of basketball. So stay tuned. I'm going to end the show the same way I started it. Still find it very interesting. Again, brought it up here at halftime, that the entire Kings, well, I shouldn't say the entire, Vivek Ranadive, Monty McNair, Wes Wilcox, all courtside tonight in Phoenix, sitting adjacent to the bench for this loss to the Phoenix Suns. According to Jason Anderson of the Sacramento Bee, Wes Wilcox was also on his phone frequently. Take that for whatever it's worth. We're all on our phones, right? We're on our phones too much these days. But what's that mean? That's the first time we've seen a report like that. So keep an eye on that. Does a move come? Certainly, I think you look at Phoenix. They have no bench. Phoenix needs depth. So does a Herter, does a Barnes, does a Davion Mitchell make a world of difference to a Phoenix team this year? Yeah. If you're throwing the towel in, that gives Phoenix some good depth right off the bat. Now, what would the Kings be interested in? Good question. We'll have to tune in to see. But anyways, thank you all for being here tonight. Not a lot of stats. Wanted to get you guys straight in, get your opinions. Thanks to everybody who called in. Grant will be back next game with us. Kings lose 119-117. If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to If You Don't Like That. We are your place for Kings programming. Kings lose tonight, 119-117. Guerrero, I believe it was Guerrero, stat of the night. Kings, ESPN matchup predictor, had the Kings with a 99.9% chance to win the game. At some point in the fourth quarter, Kings lose. So, story of the season. That's why we are Kings fans. All right. That is it for tonight. Don't forget, Sean Salisbury here tomorrow, 3 o'clock on If You Don't Like That. Okay, I'm quoting times. Normally 3 o'clock. Boss, if you are still in the chat, let me know if those times are confirmed. Normally 3 o'clock. We'll talk all NFL. And at some point tomorrow, Jerry Reynolds as well. So that's it for tonight. Kings lose 119-117. Have a great night. Stay safe. That's it from If You Don't Like That. So long.